Hi, I'm William Charnock. I'm one of the two creators of the Nockwood Cards. Nockwood Cards were created by myself and Graham Wood. The name comes from the combination of both of our names, Nock, William Charnock, and Graham Wood. I've been working in the advertising marketing world for about 25, 30 years. I worked at many of the big agencies in New York, JWT, BBDO, and most recently RGA, where I was Chief Strategy Officer. Since then, I've been working with a lot of clients on brands, helping them bring a lot of their brand management and strategy in-house. So a lot of my work has been focused on creating internal cultures, helping people make decisions, helping people streamline the creative process so that they do lots of things that work really well and do less of the things that don't build brand. So as I found myself working with clients, I found I was able to spend much more time up here at my house in the Hudson Valley. The house is called Deo House. It was named after the family that built the house in 1755. It's one of the oldest houses in the region and has been a huge inspiration in not just it's the place where I created the cards, but also it was an inspiration for the metaphors and the language that I use when teaching about the cards. In an old stone house like this, there are so many parts of the history that sort of fill the air. So many of the images and metaphors that I use when teaching about the Nockwood cards have come from Deo House. The house is perfectly aligned on the equinox, so when it's the equinox, the sun rises right at the front of the house. And I use that as a metaphor for the things that we have to do new every single day. Push ourselves not just to stick in our habits, stick with familiar actions, but actually create new actions, have new ideas, and pursue those with as much rigor as we do the old ones. When you're at Deo House in the middle of nature, you realize there are a lot of different cycles. There's a cycle of spring, summer, fall. There's cycles of different plants coming and going. The cycles of insects and animals that come and go. And when I was working with brands, I sort of realized that complexity of different things coming and going was similar to brands. We used to think of brands as being linear. They were born out of a manufacturing process. But these days, brands are much more complex. They're not just about the product and the service, the messaging and the image. The brand is about how the company behaves, the internal culture, decisions that people are making for their board of directors or something that they're doing with a community or for corporate social responsibility. And so this metaphor of nature became much more powerful than the metaphors of manufacturing. And I think in our lives and in our work, we sometimes get a bit too stuck in the sort of linear, rational processes. And especially when we're talking about something like creativity or imagination, I think it's really appropriate we start to think about some of the less linear and less rational aspects of creativity. And this is probably where, when I designed the Nockwood cards, I brought in symbolism and imagery and language that came from magic and the occult. Because in this natural world, in this world that's somewhat unexplained, we can't explain everything. We can't understand everything. There are still things out there that we don't understand and we don't know how they work. Graham Wood taught me there was a parallel between what we do in creativity and magic. That sometimes magic and creativity are very similar. We don't really know how creativity works. We know it's something that we put out into the world and it's trying to achieve an effect, and we can learn over time whether that effect has been achieved. And magic has that spirit of sort of serendipity, that spirit of things that we can't control, things that we don't know how they happen. It was that serendipity that led me to believe that we have intuition, which is much more powerful sometimes than logic. I remember once my friend Kate Stone was here and she took this beautiful photograph of the tree in the middle of our field. It was the time of year when there were fireflies everywhere, so it had these sparkling lights all around it. And I called that tree the magic tree. It came at a time when I was devising a methodology for reading the cards. And I realized that the tree was in the middle of the field. It really fitted with a methodology that I was creating where the power and the forces of the cards were coming together in the center. It wasn't just the fact that Kate took this amazing photograph. It was the fact there was a tree in the middle of the field that I'd overlooked. And more this tree became a place that I would go to reflect. And this, I tell people, is the most important aspect of the Nockwood cards. It's not just about being able to reflect and consider what you want to happen in the world, but also premeditate what you want to happen in the future.